Hello everyone and welcome to a tutorial on OnTopReplica. Now I'm doing this first of all to show you how to use this program, but to also let people know that this program exists. And I'll provide a link of where to get this program in the description, because I was searching around on Google and various places, YouTube, all that sort of stuff, for a program which does something like this, and then I finally found it, and I want to make a video to show other people what this program does. So anyway, this is certainly something which you would need if you have multiple monitors. Not need, but it would be useful if you have multiple monitors. It's not as useful with only one monitor, and you'll see why here in a minute. But at any rate, what essentially this program does is clone existing windows that are already open on your computer and displays them in this window right here. So if I do this, this is my recording software. It's sitting on my other monitor right now. I'll drag it over. Whoops. Right over here. So you can see it's exactly the same, right? And this window is always going to stay on top, which I believe is a changeable setting. I think that's changeable. Okay, no, it's not a changeable setting. So this will always stay on top, regardless, of what else you have open. So this is not something that's going to be like minimized, which I guess would defeat the entire point of this. So it doesn't really matter. But just keep that in mind, that it's always going to be on top no matter what you do. So if I'm clicking on this and moving this around, normally, whatever, in Windows at least, whatever program you click on is going to be on top and in front of everything else. But in this case, this is not being minimized. So anyway, now obviously you can see the use in this. You can clone various programs and put them on a monitor. Like if you have if you have a computer setup in which you have multiple even computers in like a network hook up to like a main computer and like an IT sort of, if you're an internet technician at some company or a school of some sort, right? You have all these computers hooked up to a main computer. You can actually have these windows being cloned from like one desktop, and you can set it up so you have multiple windows that you can click through, which I'll go over later. But so you could click through all the different computers and see their desktops or even programs that they have open or some such things. But what you can also do is do regions. So now I've zoomed in onto the timer of this, and now in this particular instance a timer is not incredibly useful. It shows me how long I've been recording, but there are a lot of programs in which you could use this very, very easily. And one example is pretty neat. I've got a YouTube video. Oh, there. Okay, so there's that. I've got a YouTube video over here. It's one of my other channels, gaming channel that I have, and I'm going to do this. Done. And I'm going to put this up in the corner. I'm going to hit play. Now there's not going to be any sound, but I'm going to hit play. And then I could open Microsoft Word, right? And I could sit here and I could type. I can do stuff. Whoops. It's not sure what it's doing, but anyway. And the video can sit there and play, regardless of what I'm doing in Microsoft Word, right? So that has and the video's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's buffering and doing weird things. So apologize for that. Technical difficulties. But that's one thing. So like if you're trying to write a paper about something, you can have a video on that topic. And I only wanted to use a video I had up simply due to the fact for copyright purposes. But you could have, if you're trying to write a paper on the migration of birds or something, you could watch a video on that while you're writing the paper, and not have to be glancing back and forth. If you only have one monitor, having to minimize your paper, watch the video, pause it, come back, write something, or have to glance from another monitor. You simply have it up here in the corner while you write, and you could have it in the same peripheral vision. So that's kind of cool. Now, another aspect of this is for gaming. While this loads, I'll just simply say, oops, if you're not a gamer, this of course won't matter, and this isn't going to only be used in this one sense in gaming. There are plenty of aspects in which you could use this. I'm just going to be showing you one instance, but again, this doesn't have to be just used in gaming. I gave you an example already of where you could use it while you're doing Microsoft Word. If you're doing code, if you're writing code of some sort, you can easily increase the size of the console output for error reports and stuff, and put that up in a section of your screen on either the same monitor or different monitors. You can see it in a larger context or other such things. But if I use it in this sense for Dota, let me do this. Let me switch it over to Dota 2. And I'll do the region here. Well, I'll have to let it load first. I would have had this already up, but because whenever I have Dota up, it doesn't want to let me minimize, and so this would be in the background the whole time. I didn't want to have that happen, so I had to load it. But if I do region, I can take this mini-map down here, and this again could be this could be done in a variety of circumstances, but now I have the mini-map, and I could put this on. I wouldn't want to use it like this because again it's going to stay on top of whatever I'm doing, but I could put this on my other monitor, and so I would have this full screened. Instead of looking down here at this tiny little one, I could glance over to my left and just see it on my monitor right there. So there's sort of an aspect of how you could use this in games. So that's that. Oh, one other thing is if you do have it zoomed in, you can see since it's looking at specific coordinates, right? It's looking at specific coordinates in the window. So if that changes, like if you go to a menu of some sort, it is going to change what it's looking at. So if I go back in here now, it's working now, but it's looking down here in the corner. So it's not going to there. And just to verify, yes, it does update in real time. As I'm clicking down here, it's updating in real time. Obviously, the quality's a little less, but I've also zoomed it in a whole bunch past what it's normally supposed to be zoomed into. So that's just sort of the price you pay for that. Now, one other thing that is very important before I get into sort of how to use this program, you need to make sure if the program you have has the option to, make sure that it's in either window or borderless window mode. If I were to set this to full screen, it's going to first of all, I don't even know if it's going to be showing it correctly on my recording, but I do know you can't see the borderless window thing now, and I would have to hit this. It's not going to be updating. Obviously, that's not what it was showing in Dota, right? So it's not going to be updating correctly when it's in full screen mode. If I go over here, I go back to the minimap, and then I go. Now you can see it's not there anymore, right? And again, I'm not entirely sure how me flipping in and out of the full screen is going to be affecting my recording too much, but we'll see. It still says I'm recording, so it should be all right. But now you can see at this point now it's just completely stopped, and it's not. It shows up, but it's not working correctly, right? So you need to make sure that the program you're using is in either full screen or borderless, or is either in window or borderless window mode. Most programs, except for games, are going to typically be that way. But if you're going to be using it for a game, you'll have to change that. So that being out of the way, let's get into sort of how to really use this program, right? So obviously the first step is going to be simply selecting the window you're going to use. You'll need to have the program open somewhere on your computer, and you'll have to have the program sitting there where it can be read. Like if I select Microsoft Word, I have to have this open. It's showing me an image, but unless I want it to update, then I have to have that program open in the background, because the cursor's not moving or anything right now. Now obviously that would make sense. It's not going to like play animations while it's, minimized. YouTube is that way. You can't minimize YouTube and have it still being played. Most for YouTube it doesn't do that. So you will have to have the thing open if you want it to update constantly. But anyway, that's pretty much a given. So once you select that, you can either do switch to window, so it'll hide that, and then you can go up. So it is possible for that to occur, but it also hides the OnTopReplica. So you can do switch to window, it'll just show this, but it also minimizes the replica window, right? You can do minimize, it just minimizes it, this. Where'd it go? There, okay. I can do select the region, which you saw already, and I can, what you want to do is select it in here. You don't want to like click on the parent window, like the window that you're making a clone of. You want to click inside of the program itself to make the thing. So you'll just hold left mouse button and just drag, and then it'll zoom into there. And you could do it again, and you could do it again and again. And you can see the actual coordinates that are being made right here. So the x coordinate, the y coordinate, the width, and the height. And this is, of course, in pixels. So if you wanted to make adjustments or back yourself out just a little bit, you can easily do that. Just keep in mind, if you type in something that is out of the bounds of the actual window, it will glitch out, and you'll have to just start over again. So if I were to do something like 2000, it's just going to do this, and then it's going to be all kinds of crazy and messed up, right? So I'd have to, go to none and then go back and zoom in again, right? So just keep that in mind. You typically aren't going to want to use the actual pixel coordinates, but they're there if you need them. Now you can also use relative to border, which is going to change up the coordinates to not specifically be x, y, but more of left, right, top, and bottom. So it's sort of saying it's 158 pixels from the top rather than a specific x, y coordinate. So the difference is sort of minute, but it takes into account minimizing of the actual window itself. So if I were to do this, right, it's not going to change up a whole lot. As before, if I were to do this, it kind of, well, first of all, it messed up entirely just then. So this is what, let me zoom in region. So if I do this and I maximize and minimize, it's changing. If I do relative to border, it still changes a little bit, but let's see, if I can get an example of what I'm talking about. Reset, if I do that, reset, done. Okay, so you see how now it's kind of cut off a little bit, right? So it's the same size. So it's different. It's cut off like that. If you do the borderless, it'll kind of change up the way it works a little bit, so it'll keep it a little bit more in track. It's a very minute change, right? I'm trying to explain it, and it's really not worth explaining a whole lot. But you can use relative to border if you wish. Okay. Anyway, so let's say you zoom in, and you have a program in which you often use in the same context of where you want it zoomed in at, right? So if I were to actually switch to this, and I were to do region, and I could go here. Say I wanted to have this timer. I could actually save this position. I could call it timer, and click done. And now if I go to region, I can click timer, and it'll automatically go there. Right? So you can easily set up these areas that are predetermined by you, so that you don't have to constantly readjust and get it exactly where you want it. So you can spend some time getting exactly how you want it set up, save it, and then whenever you come back to that same program again, you can easily go back. Now, I think you may be able to use these for all programs. It's not specifically for a program, and we can find out very simple. If I go to, let's go to Word, region, timer. So it's going to just use the same XY coordinates as before. So different programs may have different XY coordinates for the exact positions. Obviously, this window looks a lot different than the one I'm recording with, right? It's different size. So if you do manage to click on one that has different XY constraints in another, you might have some issues. It might glitch out, so just keep that in mind. They're not specifically tied to each program, though, so that they're more of like global settings. Alright, now you do have advanced, so enable click forwarding. So what this essentially allows me to do is I can, okay, I can't actually, let me reset all of this. So what I can do is, let me re-enable click forwarding, actually. I have to do that. So I can click in the clone window and actually interact with this window, right? So I'm clicking on stuff in here, and it's changing it in Microsoft Word. So that's what click forwarding does. Now, once you're in click forwarding, you have to hit escape to exit that, because right now if I right-click, it's just actually going to perform the right-click function of the Microsoft Word. I mean, I could sit here and I could type. Well, okay, I can't type. You can only do clicking. That's all it does, is just the click forwarding. But if I hit escape, then I can right-click again. I can't click anymore on anything, but I can move the window. But then I can right-click and have access to these options. So that's a pretty nifty thing that's there. So again, if you're working with multiple monitors, it allows you to easily interact in multiple scales. Click through obviously allows you to click through the cloned window, and so you can access stuff behind it if you need to. Group switch mode. What this enables you to do is assign multiple clone windows, so whenever you click on the clone window or interact with the clone window, it switches to a different thing. So I could do this one, and this one. And so if I click, well, I should, whoops, there. Let's see. I don't know what the, should be a button of some sort you could use, but every time I pull this up again, it's switched to a different window, right? So you can see it's going through. I'm not sure what the, so if you close, I guess if you minimize it, this, let's do this again, just see. So you would have to switch to window and then open this again, and you can see a different thing. So this would essentially just allow you to switch through multiple things in order of, I guess, alphabetically, or however they appeared in that menu would be what they would be, and you could just switch through different things. But there's not an easy way to switch through it other than just doing switch to window. So that's pretty much how that works. I did a little bit of testing of this, but I just still, it's weird. So anyway, restore last clone window. Obviously that's self-explanatory. It just opens the last cloned window. And then opacity, if I set this to 50%, obviously you can just see my desktop behind that. It's kind of hard to read anything like that, but anyway. Resize, so you have some presets and then you have full screen. So now I have this entire thing is actually full screened, and I would have to, Windows key, and then you have a different menu too. You don't have as many things, so I could full screen my recorder device or whatever, or quit full screen mode, and then it goes back to normal. So that's something else that you can do. And I mean, again, remember you can just simply drag like a normal window to resize manually. You don't have to go to the resize and just use these. You can resize it manually. Now you do have position lock, so it just sort of neatly either centers or locks it to the top left or the top right or whatever. It just locks it there so it can't be moved. Or, well, I mean, you can move it, but it snaps back, right? So that's what that's for. Disable it, or you can just click on whichever one you want. It just kind of neatly puts it in that spot for you. Show window border. That's, if you turn that off, then it looks like that. It's a little nicer looking, in my opinion. And then minimize, self-explanatory. Settings, there's not much here. Hotkeys, and then the language, that's all that there is for settings. About, and then there's close. So that's all that there is really to this program. Is just that right-click context menu. I guess, of course, the main things would be just to make sure that the program you're using, the program you're cloning, is open somewhere, regardless of whether it's behind stuff or not. So if I want to be cloning Microsoft Word, let me zoom in a little bit. No, it's not where I want it at. I want there. Okay, so if I go into there, okay. I gotta disable this. Alright, now I can show you what I'm talking about. So if I do region, zoom into there, done. Okay, the window, wait, it's being wonky. Hang on. I apologize. Disable. I don't want group switch mode. Okay, so if I click here, you can see it's animating there, right? So, but if I minimize this, it's not going to animate anymore because the window is minimized. So most of the time you'll have to have the window open in the background, like on not just minimized, but actually there, for it to be displaying real-time updates. And most of the time you'll actually have to be actively in the window with the window active for it to also display things. But in the case of YouTube videos, you don't have to be actively in the window for it to still update, but it does have to be open. In the case of Microsoft Word, I don't think it still animates the cursor. We'll see. Let me move this out of the way. So if I'm not active, if I click in here, it has a cursor. Let me zoom in a little bit. So if I click in here, it has a cursor, but if I click on my desktop, it does not, right? But with a YouTube video, it'll still play even if you click on your desktop or something. So that's sort of what I'm trying to get at. The other thing, of course, would be that you have to make sure that the program has a window If I try to full screen even I think a YouTube video, I don't think it would work. So yeah, it's no, no. I guess it. I guess it does work. Okay, I was wrong. So YouTube videos will work, I guess, because of the way they work in Flash. But if it's a full-screened program, it won't work very well. It'll mess up. So you'll need to make sure that the program at least has a window. So that's pretty much it. But hopefully this was entertaining and useful to you. If not, please let me know why, so I can at least fix the problem. And yeah, that's about all I've got. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.